Hey everyone. So I see some people already here talking. Sorry for the slurp. Hey, can you guys do me a favor? Look who has a microphone this time. Let me know if you can hear me so that I know if it's working. That's why I came on early, just in case this is a debacle as usual. Anyone? Oh, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Super fancy, right? Okay, good. So the sound sounds good. Awesome. I don't know. I put my headphones on, but no one's talking back to me, so I don't know why I did that. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to see people here. I didn't know if Saturday mornings would be good for people, or I can take these out because there's no one talking back. I didn't know if Saturday mornings would be good for people or not because, well, we've never done it before. But Sullivan says you miss the robot voice. I don't. I do not miss listen, the robot voice could still happen. We never know what could happen with these. So, morning, everyone. So, I wanted to come on and first of all, let me tell you about the microphone. I did a podcast. I recorded a podcast 2 weeks ago now. I think it goes live this week. It's called Humans Growing Stuff. And they're going to send me the link, so I'll share it with you once it goes live. And they needed me to have a better microphone, so they sent me a microphone. So now I have a microphone, which was awesome. The guest who they did in the episode before me was Jim Gaffigan. So I guess he was my opening act, right? So that was crazy. So I'm looking forward to that, and I will share that with all of you. But I will not listen to it because I can't. I never, when I'm on podcasts, I never listen to them because it's bad enough to watch myself on a video. I cannot stand listening to my voice, and I'll never get over it. Oh boy, Lorraine's here from Scotland. Lorraine, how's the weather in Scotland right now? So speaking of weather, how is everybody? If there's anybody here from places where it's really cold and it's not supposed to be cold, especially down in Texas, I hope you're doing okay. Sorry, it's still coffee time, big time here for me. I hope everybody's weather is okay. Oh yeah, yes. Rosie, that's my Picotee amaryllis blooming finally back here. So yeah, that finally bloomed. That was awfully nice. It's nice to have those now. So so finally stopped snowing in Arkansas. Well, I bet you are over it. My goodness. Some of these places, I complain about the snow, but a lot of these places are just not set up. We're used to it. We're supposed to be able to handle it. Emmanuel says it's unexpectedly cold down there in Florida. So, Emmanuel, how cold is it in Florida? Oh, I'm so glad. Hey, Rachel from Michigan. Yeah, Susan, I would say, the snow is sort of starting to compact for us, but where we've blown it off of paths and off the patio and stuff, 2.5 feet of snow probably. It's going to be a long time. Last year, I was looking at photos. Last year on March 1st, I pruned my hornbeams, and I have pictures from pruning my hornbeams, which I would like to be doing right now and might still do it, but we'll see. And there was no snow on the ground. And that was the weekend that I hosted this symposium for our Master Gardener group hosted this symposium. And that's where we had Nick McCullough up and Fergus Garrett. And the next day, Fergus wanted to go to see Lake Michigan. So I took him over to Lake Michigan and we walked on the beach. It was March 1st. It was that day. And boy, you wouldn't be able to even get to the beach right now. So yeah, Gail says they've run out of places to put the snow. I believe it. It's been a crazy winter. I suppose this winter is more typical for the winters we used to have. But it's not typical for the winters we've had lately. So Oh, Emmanuel is almost to 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. Good job, Emmanuel. That's awesome. So I wanted to just kind of fill you guys in because there was no video this week. So the main reason there was no video this week is that since it's dark all the time now, I pretty much do all my filming on weekends at this point because I just don't have, unless I take like a little bit of time off of work, I can't really film during the day. Every once in a while, I will, like that Nicotiana video, I ran home at lunch to film that one that day because you guys, I had filmed this elaborate video. Like there were costume changes. I spent 5 hours on a Saturday filming this video and the audio was unusable. Turns out I had a problem with my mic. I had to order a new the actual mic part of my mic setup. And of course I didn't know that until I put the footage in and it was all lost. And I was like, I think I might have cried actually. So anyway, I came home. I had to get that Nicotiana video going. So I came home at lunch, but normally I just film on weekends. And last weekend I was really busy working on, I did a webinar for Garden Gate Magazine is hosting a spring online thing with a whole bunch of speakers, and it's all going to be free. I will share the information with that on that for you guys. I think it's free. They basically want you to sign up for their email newsletters and stuff, but it's free. So I will let everybody know when that's on. So last weekend I had to finish up filming that and editing that. And I thought it was going to be really easy to do a webinar, like a recorded webinar, because it's not difficult. Like I've done a few Zoom talks and they're pretty easy. I mean, once you have the talk written and practiced, you just deliver it live. Well, once you start recording it, then you have to, then like editing gets involved. And then like you go back and you edit things that you otherwise, obviously you wouldn't have edited if you were giving it. So I don't know, there was a lot of ums in it. And ultimately I wasn't really happy with how it turned out, but it's all about growing dahlias. It's sort of a Dahlias 101. So when that's available, I will let you guys know. I think that goes up I don't think that they're putting those up until March or April, maybe March. I'm not sure, but I will make sure to share that with you. So that's what I was working on last week. So I missed all my opportunity to record anything last weekend. So this weekend, lots of things going on. So what are you guys all doing right now, gardening wise? Because I have not started a single seed yet. I was supposed to start on my schedule. First of all, I guess I'm just not going to grow onions this year. Creative Mrs. K. Yeah. So dahlia I order my dahlias in December. That's when most places have their stuff up. I mean, some of the smaller growers even have sales starting in November. I just buy them right away because if you want certain ones, they go quick. So Lila, you're hardening off your Snapdragon. I haven't planted mine yet. I should have planted Snapdragon seeds last weekend. We're only a week behind. It's okay. I really love growing onions from seeds. I should have started those in January. I didn't. I guess I'm not going to grow onions from seed this year. Maybe. I think it's okay. I just didn't. I don't know. I haven't had the urge as much as I normally do. I do need to start my purple bell vine. So if you guys are growing purple bell vine, I am going to do a video about that. But if you guys are growing purple bell vine last year, and a lot of people liked that when they saw that in my containers on the deck last year, if you are going to grow that, you want to think about starting that now. That can take like up to like 2 months to germinate. Sometimes it germinates really quick. Last year I written it off as not going to happen, and then all of a sudden it was there because that's how long it took to germinate. So if you're going to do the purple bell vine, and I would recommend starting that ahead of time, get going on that now. So Sherry, you're having problems with your soil blocking mix. What's happening with it? Is it not holding together, or what's happening with it? Because maybe we can troubleshoot that a little bit. basically shell WS when I plant seedlings outside. Basically, hey Roxanne, how are you? So I use a last frost date here of about March 10th, which is a little early. That's like a 20% last frost date for me. I hedge my bets a little bit. I can always hold things a little bit, if I need to. Um, hey, Nicole's here. Hey, Nicole. So the earliest so it all depends. It all works around there. So the earliest I put out a lot of things, except for those things that are cold hardy, like snaps. Trying to think what else is that I get out there early. Some of those, sweet peas. Some of those things can get out earlier than that, obviously. Yeah, so Judy is asking if LED lights can burn seedlings if the lights are too close. Yes, they can. They're typically more powerful. So keep an eye on those. I mean, with an LED, if you're new to a specific LED light and you haven't kind of felt it out yet, I would keep that a little higher. I mean, like I think with an LED light, a foot maybe, and maybe more than that. Start higher, see how they're doing, and then keep a really close eye on it. If you start seeing your seedlings go like purple, that's usually a sign that they're getting too much light. So you gotta move it back up. So once you get a feel for a light, you'll know. Jessica, no, I didn't mean March 10th. I mean May 10th. May 10th is what I use as my last frost date. So it's cold here for a long time. Lynn is doing raised beds. What's the best wood to use? You can use a lot of different kinds of wood for raised beds. So what we did when we built ours was we built everything out of 4x4s. That's not necessary at all. You can, we use cedar for the bottom layer because that's the layer that's touching the ground. And then I just used regular untreated pine for the rest. Now, these days, you apparently can use treated pine. I've always been a little wary of that. But we used, interestingly enough, we used some in old raised beds. We used some treated pine and some untreated pine. And they basically like rotted at the same amount. Like when I pulled that bed apart, they were equally rotted. So, I don't know, but you can use any of those. Also redwood's really good. Cedar. I mean, really cedar is, if you want like the longest, I think cedar is the best. But some places you'll be looking at more like redwood. Depends on where in the country you live. But if you're just going if you can't afford that, or you don't want to afford that, don't want to spend that, you can use either treated or untreated pine for that. I did not line my raised beds, Eric, but what I did use was something called an internal wood stabilizer by a company called, I think it's Timber Pro Coatings. I know it's there's a link on my blog. I don't know, that's the first time I've used that product. It's a organic product people often uses on like chicken coops and stuff. I won't know for years whether it actually worked or not, because, I can't, like right now it's fine, but the wood would have been fine without it anyways, because these beds are only 3 years old now. So, oh, I'm sorry. Apparently somebody's asking where I am. Yeah, I'm in Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin, technically zone 5B. I consider it zone 5A because it's cold. Well, so Gail says that treated wood doesn't feel like organic gardening to you. Yeah, you have to. I mean, you gotta. Everyone's comfort level with that is different. But keep in mind that pressure treated wood is no longer treated with arsenic, which it used to be like 15, 20 years ago. So it's treated with different things now. So, I mean, that's why I don't use treated wood, because I don't care to do that. But it is been said to be safe to use that if you want to. Garden Girl, can you give me a good source for a germination mat? I always buy mine on Amazon. There's some in my Amazon store. I think I like the ones that are the Jumpstart brand. Those are my favorites that I like. I don't have any problems with chipmunks in my raised beds. That stinks. Rachel says, is there a big difference between untreated wood and galvanized steel? I've never grown in steel. Plenty of people do, and it seems to work fine. My only concern with that would be things getting too hot. But I see Eric at Epic Gardening growing in metal. I don't know if his are steel or what they are. I see Jessica at Roots and Refuge. She uses metal. I mean, those are hot places. They don't seem to have any problem with it. So, Bobby, I'll put a link after this to my Amazon store. But if you go to any of my old videos, there's always a link to my Amazon store in the description. Bye, Roxana. Have a happy Saturday. Yeah, so Sullivan has steel beds, and she says they're great. So I think that's a great option. Okay, Rocio, am I mispronouncing your name? Anyway, he wants to know if you can still plant your tulips. No, it's probably too late to plant your tulips. What you could do is plant some up in pots and get them outside, and they might have enough chill period. What you really need is the chill period. Liam wants to know what my favorite echinacea variety is, and I feel like that's really a question for Brad at Garden Evolution. I don't care for the newer echinaceas. I like the old. I think Echinacea pallida is my favorite. But I just like plain old Echinacea purpurea too. I don't really like the new cultivars that much. I think they've gotten better, but for the most part, they don't last long for me. They revert. I've not had great experiences with them, and some of them are really expensive. And I feel like, and they just aren't meant to be like long-lived perennials. Whereas Echinacea purpurea and pallida just last forever for me. So. So Matt, you're having problems with your salvia starting to wither and die. I'm assuming you're growing this. Yeah, you're growing this from seed. Yeah, they do prefer dry. Salvia would rather have it dry, and I think overwatering is like the number one like mistake people make with seeds. Nicole wants to know if I've ever tried cantaloupe. I haven't, because I think it's tough to grow here. I just think we don't have enough heat for long enough. So, hey, Erin's here. Do you see it back there? Yes, Erin. I'm still getting the hang of it, but it's good. I like it. I'm happy I made the upgrade. I got a new camera, you guys. So, and I told Erin about that. So, yeah. So I'm happy with it. I have great eyebrows. Thanks. You can, Kate wants to know about starting hellebore from seed. You can start it from seed. In fact, hellebores will reseed. Some varieties reseed really well in the garden. I've never done it though, so I don't have a lot of information on that. But yes, you can grow it from seed. Yeah, cantaloupe is hard. I mean, I know there's farmers around here doing it. I know I can go to the farmer's market and they're growing it locally, and there are people who have really delicious cantaloupe, but I don't know. It's not me growing it. So, yeah. So at home with Sherry says she's in Minnesota. She grew melons last year and they were babies. Yeah. That's, I think, the problem. So many of those things were, I just take a look at what I can reasonably grow. And sometimes around here, it's like tomatoes in October. Angela, I like your question. Is it necessary to pot up seedlings, and when is it ideal to do so? It is sometimes necessary. It depends on the seedling. So the thing with seedlings is you want to keep them going anytime. And I do have a whole Q&A video up. Oh my gosh. Lorraine, thank you. Oh my gosh. Amazing. I do have a video up with Q&A, and I sort of touch on this, but the reason you pot on seedlings is that this is my analogy. I hope you guys like this analogy. I use it all the time. Coffee. It's just coffee in the cup. It's morning. I do a lot of that. I use the analogy of seedlings being like a train on a track. And once they get going, if that train has to slow down, then it just takes it a while to get going again. So the ideal thing to do with seedlings is, or seeds when you grow from seed, is keep them moving if they need to keep moving. So that means potting them on or fertilizing them or doing those things, because you don't want them to have to be like, oh, this pot's too small for me, or I don't have the nutrients I need to keep going. So it sort of depends some things. Now, some things, like for instance, I'm sort of thinking about how I'm going to grow my basil this year. And I think this year I'm going to try not potting up my basil. This is where I get caught with seedlings. I start a lot of things from seed, and it's no problem until all of a sudden I've got 3 and 4 inch pots everywhere, because all of a sudden your little seed tray expands to huge amounts. So if you're growing something that can reasonably transition straight from where you're growing it. Now, I'm assuming you're growing in like a 1.5 inch cell, or a like 1.5 or 2 inch soil block, not like a tiny, tiny, tiny little plug. And that is slow enough growing that you can go straight from that to your garden after hardening off, then you're good to go. But if you are growing something that needs that extra time to bulk up, you probably are going to have to pot that on. I hope that makes sense. Have I ever tried not pruning my hydrangeas? I don't think so. I think I've always pruned them. I mean, you don't have to. They're just going to keep getting, they're going to get a little ganglier, and you'll just have all that. I mean, they grow on new growth, and they're going to grow whether you prune them or not. I do think it's better to prune them personally. My Kent Beauty, hey, Laura. Laura asked if my Kent Beauty comes back for me. It did 1 year. Now, most of the time I grow it in a pot, and I just put it in the compost at the end of the year. But I did plant it in the garden a couple of times. 1 year it came back. I think it's zone 6, hardy to zone 6. So it's not surprising that I was able to get it on a mild year. Oh yeah. Sorry, now I've got coffee all over my mug because I'm such a sloppy. But yeah, I love my coffee mug. Fergus gave me that. I'm such a name dropper. RD, you can definitely grow hydrangeas in zone 4B. You just want to make sure you're looking for the hardy ones. I really like the panicles, which is like limelight, bobo, stuff like that. Those are plenty hardy, and they bloom on new wood, so you don't have to worry about the buds freezing out like you do with some, or like a arborescence type like Annabelle. Hi, Maji from Marlin from London. Wow, hi. It's nice that I'm able to get some folks from overseas on today, because I know this timing works better, because if I do it at night, it's like really the middle of the night there. So name dropping is cool. Don't anyone let you tell you differently. Okay. Where do I plan on growing Sanjusorba? Everywhere. I have a Sanjusorba obsession right now. I think I ordered 4 new kinds, and I also ordered, I think I have like 3 or 4 thalictrums coming, and I think I'm getting some thalictrum seeds. I don't know. It's a moment for me. Oh, I wanted to tell you. I'll just answer Jillian really quick about the shriveled dahlias. Yes, I still plant the shriveled ones. Sometimes they do get a little shriveled. I still plant those. They're almost always fine. It's not perfect, but it should be okay. Yeah, Lila, I'm glad you're on the Sanjusorba and thalictrum bandwagon with me. So I want to tell you guys, because sometimes it's nice to talk to you guys about like the things that are coming up. So here's the other things I've been doing in the garden. The pot in the middle of the garden off the patio there, it broke. Well, first of all, that's always been sort of a temporary situation there, because I wasn't sure if like this idea of sticking a big urn in the middle of my garden was gonna be something that worked out. It turns out I actually love it. Love it. I'm really happy I did that. But so, the setup I had there was, Kylie, you are so nice to like push for that. Thank you. Was just a cheap Target like planter that I turned upside down and put a wood board on top. And then I bought this planter from Wayfair, which by the way is still there. And I'll put a link on this after this goes up on the channel for you guys, because it's still available and it's actually a really good planter. It won't look like the planter that I have because I stained mine, but it's a fiberglass pot and it's 26 inches wide. And it comes in this kind of weird, it's supposed to look like moss. But I just think it looks like it's painted weird green or something. So I actually just stained it with good old fashioned Minwax, and the stain held perfectly to make it gray. And I put that up. And then of course this year, I had that, if you guys remember my garden from last year, I did this huge canna in the middle, and I had that canna in its own separate pot inside of there. And when I tried to pull that whole thing out, it was also stuck in there. The whole thing fell over, the bottom broke off the urn, and now I just have this bowl. So it was a good excuse to decide to do something more permanent there. So I have spent the last month looking for the right container to put there. And I think I finally found it. So Karen and I pretty much buy all my clematis from Brushwood Nursery these days. Because they send really big plants. They're really nice. So I think I finally found the right pot for that. I'm going to go stone, which means I've never had a stone cement big heavy pot, because a lot of times I move my pots. This is going in and staying there. No, Kathy, I do not direct sow my Salvia argentea. I do start those ahead of time inside. So I've been working. I'm trying to find the right thing, and I struggle with scale. So I've got cardboard mock-ups out there, and I'm going with a pot that is, I couldn't find one. I would have liked a pot that was 36 inches wide, and I found the pot that I liked, and one size is 33 inches or 33 and a half inches wide. And then if you go up to the next size, it's 44. Well, 44 is basically 4 feet across. So, that just seemed like that was going to look ridiculous in there. And it's very hard to judge when there's nothing in the garden right now. So I think I'm going to put that order in, pull the trigger on that, put that order in on Monday. So that, and I will show that whole, I'll show that whole process, because there's going to be machinery, I think. I mean, I think that pot is 400 pounds or something. So there's going to be machinery there. Fern looking plant behind me. I don't know. There's my, someone just talked about it before and I can't remember. Philodendron back there. I don't know what else you're looking at there, but, maybe I don't know. You guys, my houseplants are such a state of disrepair. No, it's not from Unique Stone. So I've been working on that. Other things I've been doing is ordering Impractical Plants. I'm going to grow lotus in the pond, the stock tank pond in the vegetable garden this year. So that's going to be a new one for me. And as long as I was ordering one, I ordered like a mini one. And I think I'm going to just put that in a small pot on the patio. I ordered a kumquat, and that is Klaus Dalby's fault. I saw a picture on Instagram, and he had it in one of his. If you guys know Klaus Dalby, he's Danish, right? He has these displays of all these pots. Did you hear that? It was ice falling off the pergola or something. So he does these amazing displays, and he had this kumquat in one of them. I'm like, oh my God, I got to grow a Anyways, I'm growing a kumquat. I've ordered a kumquat. I've also ordered a fig. I'll do videos on all that stuff, but it's just, and I sort of the other day went, Erin, you need to stop buying high maintenance plants. Yes, I am growing ginger. Ginger's going in the vegetable garden, and my ginger was supposed to be here like a week or two ago, and I'm already a little bit late on getting it started, and there's no sign of it. So just make the best of it when it comes, I guess. I don't know. It was supposed to ship by the middle of February, and I've heard nothing about it. So I don't know what's going on there, but whatever. Can't control that. Oh, the other thing is, you guys, remember the video I did on poppies? All of the people who got poppy seeds from me, that's all been sent out except for the one person who's I found sitting on my desk the other day, who I've talked to this morning. But so there are no more poppy seeds left. And I hope you got them. Other people I have sent seeds to have not received them. And I sent those out weeks ago. So that's not great. So Dee, you planted a fig in the fall. Where are you, Dee? Because I'm just, I'm going to feel this out. I got to feel out my fig growing a little bit. Yeah, the seed delivery is so late. Yeah, we'll do Carla, we'll do ginger videos for sure. But by the way, Seed to Fork on Instagram. She's up in Minnesota. She grows ginger. And Urban Farm Garden, it's Lua. He's in a warmer zone in Canada. He also has a lot of ginger growing guides. So if you can't wait for me to get to it, they've got some great ginger information too. Let's see. Okay, Marcia, let's talk about cucamelon. I grew cucamelon 2 or 3 years ago. I grew one plant. It was my last year in the old vegetable garden, so that must have been 3 years ago. One plant took over. It grew, those beds were 14 feet long, and I had sort of like deer netting around them, and it went up the deer netting and all the way down the entire thing. It created a wall and produced conservatively 49,000 cucamelons. I got sick of eating cucamelons. Mr. Much More Patient didn't like the cucamelons to begin with. And even the dogs were like, nah, I don't need any more cucamelons. Thanks. So I don't need to grow I mean, they're really cute. And some people really, really like them. I think I just got really sick of them. So yeah, Linda, I looked at Unique Stone. They do have really nice stuff. I was looking for something a little bit more contemporary. And I think that Unique Stone has really beautiful pots that are, they do have some more contemporary offerings, but some of them are very ornate. And I was looking for something a little simpler for that spot. Yeah, crazy prolific. One plant gave you 30 jars worth to pickle. Yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't pickle them, and I guess maybe I should have. Maybe I would have been interested. Nina, I am getting the Chicago Hardy fig, but I don't expect it to be hardy. It'll come in. And I'm gonna work on a video with Heather Here She Grows from Chicago, who grows figs, or a fig, about that. I think, Heather, I'm pretty sure I direct sowed those cucamelons. They're just like any other cucumber. Cucumbers do pretty well direct sown. So I just did that. Oh, Lila. Oh, Lemon Unique Stone Planter on Facebook Marketplace. Everyone else's Facebook Marketplaces, I think they're better than mine. I look on Facebook Marketplace all the time, and I don't where's everyone finding the good stuff? Yeah, Horticulture Geek, you agree on the cucamelons. Yeah, Sullivan, that was my problem. I fell in love with the Penoir Newman container, and then that sort of set the stage for everything else because nothing else stacked up to that. So Kristen, on your bulbs, here's what I think. What do you have to lose? Plant them, because they're definitely not going to do anything if you don't do anything with them. So you might as well try it, right? Brad says it's all about how I search. I don't think you know what my Facebook Marketplace is like because I search. How John does it over in Heartland. It depends what kind of poppies you're growing. So the ones I grew were the bread seed poppies, which is Papaver somniferum. What I would do over in Heartland is actually plant those like soon. And what you could do is actually dig some of the snow away. So you're only planting on top of a couple inches of snow. Cause right now, like there's like 3 feet of snow, which is probably not the best option. If you're planting bread seed ones, you can do that. Brad says he's broken the Facebook. He's broken the code to the Facebook algorithm. So Marianne, you trimmed your fig into a specimen tree. So did it ever fruit after you did that, or you just aren't even trying to get fruit anymore? Heather, I do have a seed starting calendar. I will put a link. You can find that link in my Nicotiana video, but I will also put it here once this goes live. There's a lot of sort of caveats to it, which is that it's like basically my personal seed starting calendar. So it's all based off of my timing, but it's a spreadsheet. But there's all the information in there that you could use to just take out the dates that I'm using and adjust it for your dates. And it's only the stuff that I'm growing. So it's not like it's comprehensive, but it gives you an idea of where I'm going. Joan, I have never grown any of those perennial geraniums from seed. I've always started those from plants. They grow so quickly and they divide so well. How often do I put fresh compost in my garden beds? I try to do it once a year if I have enough compost. Sometimes I just don't. I like my garden beds being full. If I like, within a couple inches from the top, if I can. So what I did in fall was I had a whole bunch of finished compost. So I topped off all of the beds that I had enough compost for. And in spring, hopefully we'll have enough compost going that I'll be able to top off the rest. Or sometimes I do, Organics Mechanics has a compost product that is really nice. Last year I topped off my beds with that, and that was primo stuff. So I will top off anything I missed last year with that. Lila planted 20,000 seeds. Fingers crossed, girl. How often do I turn my compost? I don't do it on a schedule. I sort of do it when I think of it or when I'm sort of feeling like I need a workout. I probably only turn it like twice. Heather, I do not save seeds nearly as often as I should. I really need to get better at that because there's so many, like my mom's like, well, why don't you have seeds of that? I'm like, well, I didn't save any of them. When do I start my dahlia tubers indoors? Here, I start them mid-April, which ends up being about a month before my last frost and about 6 weeks before I plan on planting them out in the garden. So Raya Roots wants to know where I got the LED grow light shades that I wore. They came with that grow light. They came with the VivaSun grow light so they were right in there, which was kind of a bonus. I know that LED lights are not good to be looking at, which is why I moved the LED lights out of this room, which is because I used to have everything against this door over here for extra daylight. I moved everything down there because we were in here too much. Yeah, Nicole's jealous of those shades. Nicole specializes in sunglasses, so I mean, you too, maybe if you're lucky, Nicole, someday you can have a pair of sunglasses like that. Everything is tinted yellow after you water your seedlings. Bumbling garden, that's not good. Definitely put your sunglasses on. So why is it recommended to water seedlings with diluted fertilizer? Just because they are tiny little roots, and it's so easy to burn those tiny little roots. And the last thing you want to do is freak those plants out. So I'd really dilute fertilizer. I don't fertilize as much as I should, which I've talked about before. I'm fixing that this year, but I really dilute that fertilizer. I'd rather go too little fertilizer than too much, because too much, like once you cook your plants, they're done. John, I haven't actually turned any of the lights on yet, so I can't offer a report on the Viva Sunlight yet. I think it looks great, but I haven't given it a whirl yet. Yeah, Broadway Gardener. Yeah, so I did not save any. The Snapdragon I grew last year. Laura, how's it growing? Do you remember what that one was called? I don't know. It was weird. I bought different ones this year. The right time to start fertilizing is depends a little bit on the plant. Some are a little hungrier than others. I mean, once they get, I would say, generally speaking, once they get several sets of leaves, you can start doing that. Some are a little bit needier than others and a little bit hungrier than others. Trisha, I would say if you're going to be sitting around an LED light all the time, it might not be great. But if you're just in and out of that room, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, well, I shouldn't say anything. I was going to say we lived with those lights in this room for a long time. And then I had an eye doctor debacle this week. So maybe I shouldn't say anything about how nothing bad happened to my eyes. Leslie is asking if I would add vermiculite to a potted hydrangea. I don't know that I would. I don't know that there's a reason to, unless the soil that you're working with would need that for some reason. Bye, Brad. Brad's going to search Facebook Marketplace to go find all the pots with his secret algorithm. Oh, Anita, that's funny. So Anita's asking about how I spray in winter. I think we're going to make a little winter deer spraying video right now because the deer are insane here because there's so much snow cover. The answer is the same way I do in spring. I always use my backpack sprayer, but it doesn't matter if you just had a spray bottle. I just go around and spray anything that's sticking out of the snow. You can't really protect the stuff that's under the snow. They will dig for it sometimes, but there's really no way you're going to protect that reasonably unless you're caging or something. So I am going to go out. I think it's been about a month or so since I've done any deer spray out there, and I am going to go around. The only things I'm worried about right now are the shrubs that bloom on old wood that have already set their buds. Those are the only plants that I'm worried about the deer getting right now. Everything else is either a perennial and anything I spray that blooms on new wood, like I will probably go around and spray like my limelight, even though that blooms on new wood. I do that because my unproven theory is that I'm training the deer. I am training the deer to never like that plant. So if they test it, do we think I'm giving deer too much credit for being too smart? But I spray things that it doesn't matter if they eat because my goal is to keep them away from the garden in general all the time. So, so that's what I do. I just kind of spray the stuff that's sticking out of the ground. But mostly I'm worried about, like right now, I'm worried about all my tough stuff, hydrangeas, those bloom on old wood, my dogwood, my flowering dogwood. Actually, I've got Cornus Mass too, which they have not touched yet, which is way out there by the road. And so far, so good on that. But you never know. You never know what they're going to go after. And they're really desperate right now for food. So, yes, a new deer will eat it. Yes, the deer, they don't talk to each other, I don't think. So you have to train each deer individually. Yeah, Stephanie, the dogs seem to have zero effect whatsoever on the deer, including when they stand there and bark at them like fools. I mean, the dogs, pretty much I know how many deer are in our yard because every time we let the dogs out, anytime it's dark, they immediately go running across the yard barking. So there are deer out there just all the time. So yeah, too many new deer at all times to train. Well, I'm doing my best. I mean, the deer around here, we live a quarter mile away from a state park, and that's, I think, where most of the deer hang out most of the time. As far as I'm concerned, they got plenty they can be eating over in that state park. And so my goal is to tell them, go back from where you came. I do not have problems with squirrels. We have a ton of squirrels around here. I don't seem to have problems with them digging. So I don't really have an issue with that. Somebody asked earlier what clematis I got this year. and I ordered only 2, and I can't remember what they were. One's a newer one. I will probably end up, usually what happens is as I get closer, I just start buying clematis like crazy. So I've only ordered 2 so far, and I can't tell you what they were. I actually started a spreadsheet for plants that I've ordered because it's already like a distant memory in my head. So things start coming and I'm like, ooh, forgot about that. Yeah, resident herd of deer. I believe that. That's crazy. Rabbits. Rabbits are terrible. I think rabbits are worse than deer, and they're harder to control because very few fencing methods even work. I have been very happy to see the fox. I don't know if it's more than one or just one, but we have fox tracks almost every day around here. So I'm thrilled that the fox is back because the fox is the best rabbit control there is. Sweet Caroline got a shipping notice from Spring Hill that you have absolutely no memory of ordering. All the time. Happens all the time. Dave, I buy most of my dahlia tubers from Longfield Gardens, and full disclosure on that, I do work with them now, but I was a customer of theirs before I ever worked with them. And then I also use a lot of smaller growers too, have some kind of interesting ones, sort of these boutique kind of small growers who are working on breeding and things. And then I always tell people to check out Swan Island dahlias too, because they probably have the biggest selection of anybody. And they will, if you buy enough dahlias, they send you an extra, like a bonus tuber. The DNR told you it was okay to use a paintball gun to pressure them all the yard. Wow. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I was going to say that sounds like it might be a little bit satisfying, but I might get in trouble for that. Oh, thank you for that painting, Megan. Is actually that is a picture of, well, for many years, for like 25 years, my husband was managed a racing sailboat, and that was the first one. And it used to dock on the Sheboygan River. So the owner of the boat had some paintings made, and that was from his boss, gave us that. Any advice for getting rid of overgrown weeds in woodland area, turning into a woodland garden? Well, that's basically what I did. That area that I all planted last year was all overgrown with weeds. So the number one key is wood chips, not wood mulch, arborist chips, which are like when someone cuts down a tree and they shred up all the stuff. That's the stuff you want because that has greens and browns in it and it breaks down really good. You can either, you can do 2 things. One, you can put that down just that thick and wait. Just put that down, wait like 6 months to a year is the easiest way to deal with that. You can also if you don't want to wait maybe quite so long, or you didn't plan well like I did, or you don't have that many, which by the way, there is a service called Chip Drop where you can sometimes get those. You sign up for that and you get free loads from people. I've never found anybody around here where that works, but what you can do is if your neighbors or somebody's cutting down trees, you run over there and you say, do you guys need to get rid of some wood chips? Because those tree guys have to get rid of those chips. And if they have to run all the way back to their like home base to dump those chips, that takes a lot of time. They would much rather come to your house and dump chips at your house. So big, thick layer of those, or you can layer cardboard or several layers of newspaper underneath there. And here's my little tip just for you guys. Kylie, don't worry about disease being in those chips. That all goes away. It doesn't really harbor over. Same thing with, because those break down so quick. Don't worry about that disease. You're all good. And you don't have to worry ever about chips affecting acidity of soil. None of that happens. Yeah, Lila, you use Chip Drop and sometimes you get giant branches. So yeah, so I guess it depends a little bit, but still it's free. So that's good. So cardboard or newsprint. And what I was going to say about newsprint is that if you have a sort of smaller offset printing operation in your town or near you, they have something called end rolls. And what this is, I work, spent my whole life at a newspaper. So what this is, newsprint comes in these giant rolls of paper. Well, they can't use the ends of those rolls, and they don't want the paper. You can't really ever let the paper like run out because you have to restring. It's like a sewing machine. You have to restring the whole press. So what they end up with is what's called end rolls, which is the small bits of paper left on the roll, which is still a ton. And a lot of places, you have to pay to recycle that. So many places will give those away for free if you need that. So now you have newsprint on a roll, and then you can just roll it out and roll it back instead of opening up all those newspapers. So that's my little tip. If you've got somebody like a small newspaper in your town, you can find that. So Leslie says, won't the cardboard smother the tree roots? It's not the best for tree roots, to be honest, but it's not going to be there too long. So I think most trees can, I put cardboard down where there were roots of trees, and it's, everything's been fine. So it's not there for long. It does break down pretty quickly. Yeah. So 6 yards of chips dropped off by contractors working for the city who are trimming trees. You got a lot of work to do. That's the one thing. You got to move that stuff, which is a bit of a drag, but that's gardening sometimes, right? I forgot to put crocus in the ground. Carol, again, I would say try it. All of these bulbs, if you have bulbs that you didn't get around to planting, you have nothing to lose because they are definitely not going to do anything if you don't plant them at all. So you've got nothing to lose by seeing what happens with it. Yes, I'm good, Dave. I'm going to do a video on the purple bellvine seedlings. I'm actually going to probably do, I think I'm probably going to do a growing guide on those. But since it's time to start them now, I'm going to incorporate that into a video, kind of a general video I think I'm going to make this weekend, so everybody can just get those started. And then we can talk more about care, because really it's just a matter of getting them started right now. And no one's going to have to worry about anything with those for a while because they are so pokey. Yeah. So Nikki's saying that gardening taught her how to communicate with other people to try to find mulch, wood chips, and compost. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yep. Stephanie's got a great point. Don't pile any sort of mulch ever up around a tree ring or a tree trunk. And the other thing is, don't ever create like a planting bed around a tree by raising up the soil level. I think everybody knows that's kind of bad by now, but don't do that. Video on sweet pea starting is definitely happening for sure, because that's my sweet peas. I always say sweet peas were my gateway seeds. That's what I started growing flowers for, because you couldn't get sweet peas anywhere else. And so that's why I started growing flowers from seed. And then I realized, I'm like, well, why am I not growing more flowers from seed? So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that's happening that I was going to tell you guys. Oh my God, I just saw a squirrel fall like 20 feet out of a tree. Laura, you can find that geranium most places. I don't know that you have to go looking anywhere special for that. It's called geranium macrorhizum, and it's a pretty common plant. And if you can find someone who has it in their garden, it divides beautifully. So, Matt, I have no limelights. I have no hydrangeas in containers, period. Just because I don't. It's not that you can't. It's just that I don't. Yeah, Christy, a lot of people have started their sweet peas a long time ago. That's the thing with sweet peas, is that how you grow them varies very much depending on where you are. There's a lot of places where it makes sense to plant them in fall. So, we're always special up here, up north. Let's see. My raised bed gardens do have drip in them. What's the watering rate? I don't know. I don't know because I always am playing around with that drip. So I don't know what it is. I'm gonna say it's. I mean, I have the little 1/4 inch tubing, and I think it's like half-gallon emitters on there, and I probably run it for 20, maybe half an hour. So that'd be 1/4 gallon that it's getting every time I water. And I don't necessarily water every day on those. So it all depends on, I mean, once it gets hot, I'll go to every day, but otherwise I don't necessarily water every day on those. It's like set to every other day or whatever it is. Yeah, drip is really convenient. It's very intimidating, and it shouldn't be because it's way easier once you just do it. But it's easy. Can you plant sweet peas direct from seed? Outside, direct from seed? Yes, you can some places. I cannot here. It would not. Up here in Zone 5B, we don't have a long enough growing season for that work, really. But in some places you can. I'm on a well. Sherry, I'm on a well, which is nice. So Myra says, you've planted a flower bed under your established. No, it's fine. No. It's fine to plant. It's fine to plant a flower bed underneath there. What you don't want to do is raise the soil level around a tree. You can definitely plant around there. You just don't want to artificially raise the soil bed. If you have done that, what I would do is take, maybe 3 feet out from your tree, whatever, just pull that soil away back down to what you want to see is the flare of a tree. So you want to see, it's called the root flare, but the tree sort of naturally, it's not as straight up and down. It sort of naturally flares out, and you want to pull that soil away so you see that flare. And you can do that. You can still keep your flower bed around there. Just sort of pull that soil away from there a little bit. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I was going to tell you guys, because I feel like there was a whole bunch of like lists in my head of things I wanted to tell you that were going on. Oh, this is a totally random thing. So, for my real job, one of the things I do is I test a lot of equipment and stuff like that. And I have a connection with DJI, which is the drone company. And hang on. I have to be careful about what I tell you guys about this because it's under embargo. Anyways, they're sending me a new product. I can say this. They're sending me a new super scary product to try out, I think next week. And so maybe there'll be an insane video that comes out of that. Maybe there won't. I guess I was going to tell you more about it, but now that I realize I'm really not supposed to be talking about it. So that'll be either fun or ridiculous or scary, one of the three. And this week, just to let you guys kind of know where I'm at on my garden, I really want to be out. I really want to be pruning. This is when I want to be out in my garden pruning trees mostly. I mean, hydrangeas and stuff, usually I don't do till for another couple of weeks or even more. Usually that can be like mid-March is when I do that, or even later. There's a pretty big window for those. But this is when I want to be out there doing my trees. I really want to get after those hornbeams. And I've been looking at, there's a crabapple out there that I feel like needs some thinning out. And I'm just going to have to, I mean, my boots aren't even tall enough. I'm going to have to put like gaiters on or something to get out there. But I guess I'm just going to have to grin and bear it. The good news is that's warm. It's tomorrow's going to be like 34 degrees here, which is going to feel like tropical compared to what we've had. So, how big of branches do I prune? Most of these things are things that are small enough that I'm doing them with a hand pruner or the lopper. We kind of prune bigger branches that we need like the chainsaw and a stick for or something. That stuff we do just sort of as we see it. I don't think there's any trees we have that really need like an ornamental pruning at this point. I think most of the things we have are like, I would just look for dead wood and you can prune that out anytime. Um, Heather, I have never tried Chinese lanterns, but when I was a kid, my mom grew them all the time. I think I think they reseeded everywhere, and she sort of ended up hating them. That's my memory. But I remember them as a kid because as a kid they were fascinating to me. Um, you can still you can bring back an espalier that you let get away from you, no problem. So there's summer and winter pruning on that. You're probably looking at pruning like a summer pruning now, but I mean, you might lose some fruit if you pruned at the wrong time. But you can always bring an espalier back. Yeah. So, okay. So Shell, I didn't imagine that those Chinese lanterns reseeded everywhere. Um, Bumbling Gardener, I purchased the 3 espaliers that I purchased as espaliers. I bought from local garden centers near me. I have never grown heirloom chrysanthemums. They are so cool. I think they're hard to grow, and I fear that that's the kind of plant that I could go down the dahlia route with, where I get super obsessive about. And sometimes I'm afraid of starting down those roads because I think I don't need one more thing to obsess about. I do try to balance plants that can just kind of do their own thing without a lot of intervention from me with the diva plants that I tend to grow, because otherwise it gets so overwhelming. So a lot of times Alexandra is asking about a hydrangea from the grocery store. So a lot of times those are what they call florist hydrangeas. And they are kind of meant to do what you did with it. It's kind of meant to enjoy inside for a bit. You can move those out. People have done them successfully. You can move them out. Those are always hydrangea macrophylla. So depending on where you live, you'll have to be worried about the buds freezing out or not. But you can move those outside and give it a shot. But what happened is sort of what happens with those florist hydrangeas. They're meant to like live, bloom, do their thing, and then they just sort of, they're not really meant for the long term, to be honest, although you certainly can. Let's see. Can I grow? So depends on where you are. Can I grow dahlias on a south facing wall? It depends on where you are. I grow mine. My dinner plates face south against the White House. Now, keep in mind, my sun here is not as intense as the sun in other places, but it's pretty intense against a patio and a white south facing house. That's some pretty intense sun. They do fine as long as I've got drip watering in there. As long as you keep up on that watering, they're good there. I would say if you're in a southern zone, think about maybe a little afternoon sun. What's the most diva-ish plant I grow? Well, probably the new ones I'm getting, like the kumquat and the fig. I mean, those are going to need extra attention. I mean, dahlias are kind of divas. Trying to think if there's any other ones that get special babying from me. Some of the dogwoods I grow they get extra babying. Marlene, I absolutely recommend Jung. In fact, I'm going to do a couple of videos with them this year. I did one with them last year, and we have a really cool video series that's coming together for this year with them. I like them. They're a family-owned company, and the person I work with there is actually the daughter-in-law. The grandfather was her father. Her grandfather is her grandfather-in-law. So, like, the people who actually run the company are still the family who started it, and I love family businesses like that. So, also, Junk seems to be really on top of getting orders out right now. They don't seem to be having quite the backups because I think they do sell to a lot of farmers and bigger growers. And for whatever reason, I think they're geared up pretty good, even though I know they're having a crazy year like everybody else is. So, let's see. Shell Dub's trying some dahlias this year. Good. I'm glad you're trying them. I think they're always worth trying. See if you like them. Let's see what else we got. Okay. I'm sorry. I get so distracted by reading the comments. What else is going on in the garden? I don't know. The big thing I have to do is I got to get some. Oh, and I'm doing winter sowing today. That's the other thing. I don't. I have mixed feelings on winter sowing. I have been moderately successful with it. Some people, I mean, there are some great videos out there by Horticulture Geek. There are some great videos out there. Yulia from Why Do You Grow? She did so many. There's a whole bunch of great people have such good success with winter sowing. And I feel like I've had kind of random success with winter sowing. And sometimes I don't like that because if I absolutely need a plant to grow, I like having the option of having it inside where I can know exactly what's going on and check on it all the time. With winter sowing, like you pretty much put them in there and then you walk away. And it's like, oh, well, is it going to work? Is it not? So I'm winter sowing today, but I'm only winter sowing various types of verbena. I'm doing verbena bonariensis, which is the only way I've ever gotten that to grow. I know that reseeds in people's gardens like crazy. And it reseeds for me too, to a certain extent, except that it flowers so late. If I wait for the reseeded ones, that'll flower so late. So I do like to start new ones every year. And then I have another verbena, which is Bampton. I don't know if that's the cultivar name or not, but I grew that one last year too. So the only way I've been successful with verbena is growing it from seed is doing winter sowing. So I'm going to winter sow those. And that's the only thing I'm winter sowing this year. Hi, Liz. So Liz, she's asking about turmeric dahlia flowers. So that's flowers that are like, half and half. I've had some cafe au laits like that. I don't know that if there is a way to propagate that for that to happen. I had always, my understanding on because when I had that one cafe au lait that was half buff and half pink with a line right down the middle. My understanding with that is that's sort of a weird light variation. But if all the flowers on your plant did that, then I would suspect that is, specific to that plant. And the only thing I can think of to do with that is to just keep cloning that either from cuttings or, propagating those dahlia tubers and see what happens there. But my thought on those was that was always sort of a light condition that was causing that, but I could be wrong about that. Okay, so I think where are we at here? I've been on for like an hour. I got to get going and do some stuff in the garden and make some videos, but I'm so happy I was able to touch base with you guys. I feel I get a little disconnected when I don't have a video up and we don't have any conversations, and I just felt really bad that there was no videos this week. So lots to shoot this week, and we're getting rolling. Like it or not, the gardening season is like coming in hard. So we got lots to do. So thank you everyone for coming. It's always so nice to talk to you. I love touching base. My favorite thing to do is to talk to gardeners. And this is kind of chatting. Anyways, so thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great Saturday and a great weekend in your garden. And we'll be seeing you soon on YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Bye.